So this week I want to start out with a question. I want to ask you, who are you? What are those words? What would you use to describe who you are? You know, some of you probably instantly go to your jobs, right? You're a carpenter, you're a plumber, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or a race car driver. You know, fill in the blank. I am blank. You know, maybe some of you would use the term Christian, or you know, you could fill in the blank with a number of things. And what I want to talk about briefly today is this issue of identity. What are those things that we use to define our life? You see, our culture would say what you do is who you are, which is just frankly backwards. Because what God would say is who you are on the inside is ultimately what you do. And this really became real to me. Last weekend I was preaching at Florida State Prison. I got to do a service for the inmates there, and man, I was just blown away by what God is doing in that place and how bright of a light this massive group of guys are right in the midst of the darkness. But I was thinking through how much they must wrestle with identity. And see, we keep identity at a surface level, right, to our jobs or the things that we see. But if we're honest, deep inside, there are identities that we carry that are really harmful for us. The identities of our sin. Maybe it's a sin that was committed against us. Whether that's a husband that walked out, or you know, a spouse that left you. Maybe you were physically or sexually assaulted. Maybe there was a sin that was so grievous against you that that's what you see when you look in the mirror. Or maybe it's a sin that you committed. Maybe it's something you can't get past. You can't forget about. You're the worst day of your whole life, and that's your identity. That's who you are. And see, I bring this up because I want to remind you today of what God says about you. You see, the Bible calls us Christians 3 times. Out of the entire Bible, only 3 places is Christian mentioned. In Christ is mentioned over 216 times. And that's what our identity should be as followers of Jesus Christ, that we are in Christ. In fact, in the book of Ephesians, which is highly about our identity and living out our identity in Christ, Paul writes in Christ, I think about 28 times in that book. So he's really trying to tell us something. And so today, I just want to remind you that in Christ, there is now no condemnation. That in Christ, you are a new creation. The old is past, the new has come. So no matter what you may be wrestling with, what sin may have been committed against you, what sin you may have committed against others, you move on. You know, an old friend of mine, one day when I was really in a tough place, he said, Jason, it's really hard driving forward when you're looking in the rearview mirror. And I want to encourage you with that today. It's really hard to drive forward in your life when you're looking in the rearview mirror. Look in the mirror and see yourself as a son or a daughter of the Most High God. That in Christ you are forgiven, clean, and new. And so I want to close up real quick by just asking you, who are you? Who are you really? Remember, you are not condemned. You are forgiven, clean, and new. I hope this encourages you. Y'all have a wonderful week. Can't wait to see you back next Wednesday.